Hello guys, welcome back again for another video of China in the Global South. My name is Christian Geronema and I'm happy to be back here to give you a quick summary of one of the stories that we've covered this week on the China Global South project. And that story is a quite gruesome story because it involved murders, and it takes us to the Central African Republic where 9 Chinese were killed last Sunday at 5 a.m. during an attack against the gold mining operation in the country. The attack happened in the town of Bambari, which is 425 kilometers away from the capital city of Bangui. The details of the attack are still to be known, but what we know so far, we do know that there is a group of armed men who raided the compound and killed 9 Chinese with gunshot to the head and wounded 2 of them. No money were taken, no gold were taken, nothing were taken. And no money were taken because it was a fairly recent operation. They just started the operation. So they didn't have any money of them. They didn't have any cash of them. So that specificity alone put that attack in a very different spectrum of the quote-unquote usual attack that we see often, unfortunately, on the continent. And I'm going to take here a country like the DRC, where we see similar attack. When those attacks happen in country like DRC, money is taken, gold is taken, or equipment are taken, or even sometimes Chinese are taken as hostage for ransom later. In this case, there was no hostage taken, there was no money, there was no gold. They were just killing happen. And it was so brutal that it prompted a reaction from Chinese authorities. Xi Jinping, the Chinese president, has made a statement asking for severe punishment against the perpetrators of this attack. So what about them? What do we know about them? So far, we know not much about them. What we know from the Central African Republic officials is that they are accusing the Coalition for Change called Coalition pour le Changement, CPC, to be responsible of the attack. The mayor of Bambari said the brutality of the attack, only the rebels were able to do that. Even the prime minister pointed that fingers to those rebels to be the ones responsible. And of course, those accusations came with no proof. On the other side, the rebels reacted to those accusations, saying that they are not responsible of the attack. The Wagner Group, Russian Wagner Group, which is present in the country, is responsible of the attack. And of course, on their side as well, they did not provide much of proof or any proof at all in terms of responsibility of Wagner in the situation. So in terms of asking, is Wagner really responsible of what happened? It's really not sure, because we know that Wagner is a Russian group really tied to the Kremlin and close, and Moscow is a close ally to China. And the attack happened the moment where Chinese President Xi Jinping was going to Russia is really unlikely to happen. We really don't see why Wagner Group would be targeting Chinese operation in Central African Republic, knowing that it may really create bad situation between Beijing and Moscow. So the Wagner Group situation, accusation, personally, I really don't believe in it. There's no much of a support of that accusation in terms of their involvement. So who might be behind that attack? We still don't know. Investigations are still going, and in the coming days and coming weeks, I do believe that we are going to have much more element to tell us about what happened there. And it happened in a moment where during this week we had warning coming from the Chinese embassy in Nigeria, where the Chinese embassy was warning Chinese citizens in the country not to go south in the Kogi state, because they had information that there was a group targeting Chinese for kidnapping for ransom. In that context, we see how much post-COVID there was a kind of increase of attack against Chinese on the continent. So in regard of that situation, many kind of wondering how China is going to react. Is China is going to become much more proactive, is going to become much more present in terms of security. Many are even speculating maybe China is going to send the PLA, the People Liberation Army, in the continent to try to protect its interests, which is very unlikely to happen. We do know that China is still, really still sticking to his non-interference in China in other countries' internal affairs. We do also know that there are more and more Chinese private companies out there on the continent, in DRC, in Guinea. So the question is, are we going to see them to become much more active? We also do know that those private companies, they do not carry guns, they do not carry weapons, so they really don't have the means to really provide security in those kind of unstable environments. So the question is how China is going to react. So that we are going to know more in the coming months and maybe in coming years to see how China is going to adapt in this new environment. That was all for me in this video of the China in the Global South. We've covered all the different stories on our website, on our 3 edition in French, English, and Arabic. You can go visit ChinaGlobalSouth.com or ProjetAfricain.com, and you're going to find every story that we've covered this week in the China in the Global South. That's gonna be it for me. So see you next week for another video of China in the Global South.